There we go. Great to see you all today. Welcome to our September edition of the Ecology Network. You know, this is a space that was created by Move to Amend, where we can come together and make that connection between corporate rule, corporate destruction of our environment, and coming together to find ways and solutions on fixing them. And, you know, we hold one piece of the puzzle, but, you know, it is a much bigger puzzle, and there's a lot of strategies on how we get to a sustainable future that is, you know, full of the justice that we all envision that we should have. We normally start these meetings out with a check-in from y'all, you know, where y'all share what's going on in your neck of the woods, kind of work that you're engaging in right now, and to share with us your inspiration in the things that you're doing. So I would like to open that up. I know Fernanda's got a lot of exciting stuff going on. Would you like to start, Fernanda?
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm in El Paso, Texas, and I was just busy writing big grants for more urban forestry action here in our desert region. It used to be a forest way back before the damming of the Rio Grande, and now it's very much dry, and an obstacle to overcome is getting a lot more trees for, you know, the urban heat island effect. Luckily there's grants out there, and we're pursuing them, and we're also looking into local tree propagation techniques. I'm starting a citizen science club to investigate methods and do some air layering on our native trees. It's called Branches to Roots. It's a whole STEAM education extravaganza. I'm busy with that. And yeah, we do talk about the connections to corporate rule a lot. And yeah, I mean, it doesn't connect to the tree issue. Luckily, corporations are giving money to donate for trees, but yeah, it's visible in every aspect of like them expanding the highways still. Yeah, end of story. Thanks, Jenny. I'll tag on to anyone else who wants to share.
Yeah, that's super exciting, Fernanda. And, you know, getting the funding for it, and you know, corporate entities have the money. So if you can get the money to plant a tree, I think go for it. Would anybody else like to share some of the things going on in their neck of the woods? Were you trying to get on here, Barbara? Go ahead. I can't hear you. You might be on mute. Just want to welcome Megan and Jeannie.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Go ahead, Barbara.
Yeah. I don't know what's wrong with this thing. It won't work unless I plug in the earphones. Yeah, I was just saying that we're our next well walk is next weekend. So we spent today driving around, checking out, see if we could find some new wells in the area, and checking out the ones we usually take people to, and, you know, just driving around all day. So I just got home about 20 minutes ago. So that's it.
Awesome. I'm so glad you made it. I couldn't help but while I was watching the the debates the other day, couldn't help but think about the work that you're doing there to try to stop the fracking, and both candidates so in favor of fracking up Pennsylvania. I know that's just concerning for you, but it's not going to stop the push, right, to make that not happen. Would anybody else like to get on Stack and share what they're doing? Keep us posted, Barbara. Thank you for all that work. You Randy, Megan, you seem like you're bouncing in and out.
Yeah, I've been trying to look for a raise hand function. Can't quite find it. But now that you talk to me, I guess I'll just mention something a little more, festive that we're doing over here. Every year we have a climate justice festival, and we get all the organizations and climate businesses that have eco-friendly products. They come and have a tabling event, but we also have music and speakers, and there's a kids area that they have a lot of activities that are related to climate, and it's generally more of a festival atmosphere. I'm in charge of a chili cook-off this year, a vegetarian chili cook-off, and I'm submitting my black bean chili for the Sacramento area Move to Amend. They're sponsoring me for that, and so if I was to win the prize out of all the entries that happen, I would be able to donate the money that they raise by the entry fee to my organization of choice, which of course would be Sacramento Area Move to Amend, since we are poor and small and we need the money. But I hope there isn't too much stiff competition so that I do have a chance of winning that prize. But there's lots of other activities. They're having a trash and fashion show where people make fashions out of trash, and they're having environmental photography contest. So there's lots of different things that are going on in the festival. So it's pretty exciting. So if anybody happens to be in Sacramento on October 5th, you're welcome to come. It's at McClatchy Park. And if you, I get to Sacramento, you would certainly see flyers about it everywhere. So that's what I've been up to, mostly working hard on. And the legislature is pretty much decided that they're done doing legislation and won't even let Newsom do an after legislation this year. So it's a good thing, because we didn't make a lot of headway, but we did do a few bills that got passed that were important ones that I think the governor will sign, that are related to capping oil wells that aren't producing, that are just emitting hydrocarbons into the air, and they don't want to cap them because it costs too much money to do that. But this bill would make them have to do that if they have a certain amount of income and a certain amount of wells that are just sitting there not producing. So that's a good thing. That one passed. And I can't think of other ones. There's some other ones that I don't know whether he'll sign or not. But it's going to be all over with soon. So we'll see. Okay, that's about all I have to say. I'll pass on to anybody else who'd like to tell what's happening in their area.
That sounds like so much fun, though. Good luck on that. Black bean chili sounds delicious. Darlene, go ahead.
Hi, yes, I'm out here in Washington State, and I work with several organizations, national and local. One of the big ones now, I'm working with a local group, and we have sued the Department of Interior for for not writing a compatibility determination on whether a commercial industrial oyster farm that would be impacting the mission of the refuge. By law, Department of Interior, all the refuges have to write what is called a compatibility determination if anything on their property or next to their property could impact the refuge. And this one is very political because the shellfish operation is by a tribe. But nevertheless, the law says that they have to write a compatibility determination. They're refusing at this point. So we're in court against the Federal Department of Interior. Oh, I hope we get a decision. The judge so far has been very good and has sounded supportive of our side. So we will see. And we've been going to throughout the summer to different farmers markets, promoting our organization and discussing this shellfish operation and other things that we do with the people that come to the farmers markets. So it's been a fun and interesting summer. I'll stop on this one issue. But I do want to ask later in our discussions, there's an issue with California that the members of California, I would like to ask whether they support or don't support, but we can get to that later. Thanks.
Sorry about that. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, keep us updated about that. I hope they come out on the side of the environment on this. As you know, that's always a long shot. And Megan's super tuned in to the California environmental movement there and environmental justice actions. So I'm sure she's would love to connect and find out what this question is. Now I'm like curious, but we'll have more time for discussion afterwards. And I do want to open it up if there's anybody else that would like to share what they're working on, any updates they have on things they've brought before, or anyone else want to share right now? Well, we'll definitely have a little bit of time left to have more of those discussions if you decide you want to share something that you're doing. I know, Cole, you had mentioned you wanted to do an update too, but we'll go ahead and introduce Jana Larsen. She's our, Warrior Spotlight speaker discusser today. Thank you, Jana, for coming. It's great to see you again. And she has been working with the Weed Network for quite some time now. And she's the Deputy Director and Human Resource Liaison or Person Extraordinaire at We the World. She also co-hosts Malcolm and We show that, just explores a variety of topics, kind of loose conversation and that kind of thing. She particularly advocates for children and families and empowering folks to be the active change agents that we can all become. So I want to turn it over to you, Jana, if there's anything I missed in that introduction, but I know you have a lot to go over. So I'm glad you got your sound back on too.
Yeah, that was scary. Well, I didn't really prepare anything, but I can tell you we are doing our 11 days of global unity right now. That started September 11th, which was yesterday. That goes to the 21st, which is the International Day of Peace. And we have 11 themes. Starts with unity and goes all the way to peace. And I could list them all, but well, I have to look at my cheat sheet here. Yeah, it starts with unity and then interdependence, then environment, then economic justice, health, children and youth, women, human rights, freedom, disarmament, and peace. And it was started by Rick Ulfick in 1998. And he used to be a professional musician. Well, he still is a professional musician, but he got the bug to created this organization because he was alarmed at how things were looking, and he was in the right place at the right time to meet a lot of amazing people that everyone knows of, like Dr. Jane Goodall. And she was one of our founding members, along with Deepak Chopra and Desmond Tutu and other big names. And so this is the 26th year for We the World, and it's the 20th anniversary of the start of 11 Days of Global Unity, where after a few years of struggling along, they decided that this would be the good way to cover all the important themes that could stand on their own, but also, uh, they overlap. Can't you, if you talk about children and youth, certainly you have to talk about health and economic justice and all those things, but you can talk about them individually too. So what we've been doing with every year we do at this event, it's a lot of work, a lot of herding cats, and it gets really frustrating with technical issues and such. Um, so every year we have slightly different problems. But every year, in spite of the work, it's always very energizing and exciting and uh, inspirational to meet and re-meet people who are doing so much around the world. And in that sense, we've become much more global, um, being that we're called We the World, meaning we the all the living creatures of the world, and the mountains and the trees and the water and flowers and everything. So Jane Goodall was our featured first speaker pre-event. She's 90 years old, and she's still doing speaking engagements around the world. Just she's she's a someone to really to admire, and is motivating. And she, of course, endorses We the World, so she had a nice message for us that we use in our intro. All right, so we started with unity, and one person I'd like to mention, being that we're talking about Eco Warrior, is a person who was in Washington State. And Megan, maybe you've heard of, I think you said you were in Washington State, maybe not. Anyway, he has started a group along with other people called um, People for Cooling the Planet, PFCP. And he wants it to be an organization that's made up of ways to really reach out and connect all the different groups, and whatever they're doing, that you're having actual conversations, like we're having actual conversations here. I'm not just blabbing and nobody else gets a chance to talk. So, but it's to get all these fragmented groups together, the silos together, to really see how, it starts with one. You start small, you just make a decision to engage and be activated and involved and do what you can. um, yes, there are many among us in this group and other groups like us that are ex-hippies. I am. But they're all different kinds of people, scientists, young people, older people, people from all over the world who are struggling in abject poverty, but they're still motivated to do what they can in agroforestry, in very dry, arid climate in Africa, and mangrove restoration and all that. So it's hard to know where to start because there's so much to it. As Jenny knows, that you don't just do one thing; you do a lot of things, and that's the beauty of working with groups like yours. And so with Malcolm and um, it's meant to be. I mean, we have all kinds of people coming on, and we've been doing one show a week for about a year. And it took us a long time to get it organized because we work with volunteers, and when you're working with volunteers all over the world, not everyone has the same on the same schedule, really, because of the different time zones, which makes it challenging. But it's anyone who wants to talk about what they're doing. So I would definitely welcome anyone here who wants to be on our show to talk about what you do and get more awareness for your organization. Because being an arm of We the World, that's what we are all about. We're a nonprofit, and we try to help other nonprofits or just people trying to make a difference. And it's about getting the word out. And I don't have the analytics on how much impact We the World is making, but I know from Malcolm and we do the video show. I mean, it's on Zoom, so it's video, but we also have the audio. So we have the separate podcast, and I can tell from that that it's going all over, and even without doing fancy social media, because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to do what I can. And just spread a little bit too thinly, but everything adds up. We're almost close. We're close to almost 400 downloads. So I guess that's good in the analytic world about impact and measuring, um, which is exciting that we're not just in our own, local community of where he's studying in California, but all over the world. And I just really love working with uh, all kinds of um, all kinds of people. Uh, as I said, rich, poor, known, not known, bigwigs, simple, down to earth people like myself, being able to get together and feel like they're in a community and we're not just preaching to the choir, that we are able to reach people that don't know much, and a way to get them involved uh, is always the goal. And definitely youth, because we need to have more youth having a place um, to feel like their voice is heard. Yeah, that's really important. Um, Another big group we work with or have worked with, because I I was volunteering with them, is the Poor People's Campaign, with led by the Reverend Dr. William J. Barber II, and the Poor People's Campaign, and I was on the coordinating committee for Northeast Ohio, so I got to meet a great many people, and we are hoping that we are going to be interviewing Reverend Barber this week. Um, we for our day of economic justice, which is Saturday, and he was all set to join us, and then he got invited to the White House, so to be honored. So I'm sure that if I were given the choice between being on a Zoom cast or being invited to the White House, I know what decision I would make. Anyway, I don't feel like I'm making much sense. Are there any questions that possibly I could answer?
Thanks, Jana. Yeah, I know what you mean. There's just a lot. So what do you bring in this sense? And thank you for the invite to the Global Unity Summit, and also to the Malcolm and We show. I already have folks reaching out in direct chat that would love to be to come share some of the work that they're doing.
That would be
Got
great.
my,
So should I put my email address in
please
the
do.
chat? Okay, I'll do that. Because
So
I'm the person that sets it up.
So what's going on with the Global Days of Summit Unity, Global Unity Summit? What can folks expect? Is that a weekly thing? Is that it's 11 days. So it's every day there's the convergence is.
Yeah, let me put that link in because I've been saying it for several recordings that I've been co-hosting. So every day there's a panel, summit panel, midday we've been doing recordings so that we don't have to deal with Zoom catastrophes or Facebook catastrophes, so that we can have them broadcast at noon and 6. So every day is a different theme. And then we have other campaign leaders have brought together guests to introduce during the day for like unity or economic justice or something for each day. So each day has its own theme. And I'll put the link in so you can register. Not that you can't watch it on Facebook just by going to our page, but that way you'll be able to get updates and knowing what all is happening when. So. All right. So if you go to that link, it will show up what all is happening. And so this is day 2. Tomorrow will be environment. And I know for environment, we have the campaign leader for that is a woman named Sue Blythe. She's in Florida. She's an older lady, retired teacher, passionate about environment and raising her family with environmental awareness. And the whole family is involved with children and grandchildren and great grandchildren. And she's very active in the Gainesville, Florida. That doesn't look right. It should be just at we.net. I should do it again. I must have made a mistake. And then we have a very active volunteer in Botswana who's a very active women's empowerment leader there. And we so a great many speakers talking about the situation in Africa, which is pretty desperate.
Wonderful. And you had mentioned mangrove restoration projects.
Mangrove, yeah.
Mangrove, sorry. Gail Woon, she's on the call today, and that's some of the work that she's doing. It's mangroves, so there could be probably intercept.
Yeah, there we have a. Well, I'm also a member of the what is it? The Climate Leadership Corps, Climate Reality Leadership Corps, also, and so that's how I have been meeting people too, because that's very active. Al Gore's group. It's a good way to meet people all over, and that's how I met several people who are working on mangrove restoration in. I think it's in Tanzania, is where the people that I know who are working on it. Has anyone heard of Dr. Barton Rubenstein with the Mother Earth Project? He's very active in the environmental awareness group, Environment and Peace. And that's how I met him. I was on a webinar in Burundi and met him and some other people who have since become volunteers with We the World, having worked with Dr. Jane Goodall when they were kids with her Roots and Shoots program.
Wonderful. I want to open it up for others to ask Jana any questions. Is there any? Does anybody have any questions about We the World, about the summit, the podcast she's involved in, some of the other work?
Katie Stack.
Go ahead, Katie.
I have kids running around, so it might get noisy. I do just want to thank you for coming and pointing us in this great directions. I've been looking over the websites and the work that you do. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, it's pretty amazing for as a nonprofit that that's something that was formed that many years ago is still working, because we're volunteer run, and had a great many volunteers in and out, and it has been a good place for recent college graduates to get a little bit of internship work with us. Not that we can pay them. That's a goal, though. And because there's lots to do with updating our infrastructure to a more modern data management than the old way we did things. We're all fairly on the creative side, and sometimes when you're on the very creative side, you don't necessarily take. Well, let's just say we tend to have creative ways of doing data management. That's not necessarily the best way to do things when you're trying to get funds from investors. So we're working on our infrastructure, and so that's been a big project since we're all volunteers.
Completely understand that. I think most of us here deal with a lot of the same things you're talking about. Wonderful.
Well,
what do you find? Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that during the pandemic, it worked out to be a really good way to get youth involved, because they needed to do their service projects and get their service hours in that helped with scholarships and college applications. So that was a really good way to get a lot of youth helping. It's not that we don't still have youth helping. In fact, we have she's now going to be our campaign leader for children and youth, and her name is Raheen Fatima, and she's in Pakistan, and she's only 16, and she's already this Gen Z mover and organizer, influencer type person, and she's just dynamite. And so it's going to be a little hard because she's in high school, and she has big plans. So I think that's cool that she has that opportunity to be able to have a place to put her passion and everything. I wish I would have had that when I was young, which was a long time ago.
Yeah, that's awesome. And to be able to engage on a global scale and
Yes.
have that kind of outlet for
that's
action.
what I think is good about our organizations, because since I interview volunteers, potential volunteers, and so on and so forth, they're always amazed to find out. I mean, I'm going to be able to meet Rick Ulfik, who's the founder, because in a lot of organizations, one doesn't necessarily have that opportunity to be able to feel like they can connect, that we're on that familiarity level with movers and shakers all over. And I think that just within our group, but with other groups that we work with, that kind of engagement is it's a good model.
Does anyone else have any more questions for Jana?
Well,
Any
you can
particulars
always
on the work?
reach me. Yeah, you can always reach me at Jana Larsen at we.net. Pretty much everywhere with that group. And there's not much I don't do. Well, data management, I don't do that.
I have a quick question for Jana. Just
Sure.
how did you get involved with We the World?
Well, I grew up in Boulder, Colorado, and in the 70s, 60s and 70s. And so I was very exposed to forward thinking people who, living life outside the box was pretty much, everybody lived outside the box in Boulder, Colorado back then. And my family was very active with civic engagement and learning about the importance of being involved in your community. And so I grew up that way. And it wasn't until I met my boyfriend who became my husband and now is my ex-husband that I was able to move around and see different ways that people live and saw that I did indeed have a very amazing youth and childhood. And it was an experience to end up where I did, where I felt like I was on another planet, which kind of stayed it that way for a long time until I then got divorced and realized after I got through that trauma that, well, now I'm free to, I'm still poor, but I can still do something. And I may be poor in money, but I'm not poor in spirit. And I just really needed something to feel like I could do something that one poor person could make a difference. And because as a woman, and that's why I'm so involved with the women's issues, it's very hard to be an older woman without any assets. And there's, the whole story there about the plight of women. And I just felt like I just really need to get involved. And I thought, I'm going to start a movement. And really had no idea I was going to start a movement. And I happened to be cruising the internet, as they said back then, and happened to see Rick Ulfik giving a presentation from the Global Summit on one of the themes. I have no idea really I don't remember what he said, but it was the way he said it that made me realize here's my movement I can join, because it's not just one theme, it's a whole bunch of themes that are really, really important to me. And I don't have to pick one thing, because I couldn't pick one thing to major in college either. So it's just sort of been my plight to have too many interests and not enough focus in any one thing. So I joined, and at first I was very intimidated by all the visionaries and thought, I can't do this. I don't know what I'm doing. I can barely use a computer. I don't know how to do all this fancy stuff. And what could I possibly contribute? But then I realized that there was a place for me, because they were very accepting, and it's called open architecture, as far as how they took in volunteers. And I'd always been a volunteer, and I liked that I didn't have to necessarily know. It's just be a part of the group and see where you fit in. And over the years, I've figured out I'm a good networker. I'm a good organizer. I don't need to know how to do data management, but I do need to know how to work with people, to find people who like to do data management. And I love to talk. So, I don't necessarily make sense all the time, but I do like to talk and meet people. So that's why I do what I do.
Thanks, Al.
Thanks, Sean. Okay, well, we could come back to more questions for Jana as they bubble up, and we'll just move into some conversational opportunities. I also want to give anybody an opportunity if they want to ask Jana a question, please, raise your hand, or if you want to share something that you're doing and haven't shared yet, let us know and we'll get you on the stack. And I know, for example, Alliance for Just Money and the work that Fernanda's doing with the restoration projects there in Texas would be a great feature for Malcolm and we. So consider this a formal introduction. If anybody else, like Jana said, they would love to feature you. They have the podcast. They also do video that goes up on the YouTube channel and on their website as well. So they try to get that out there, get that information and what folks are doing, as much visibility and exposure as possible. She did have Move to Amend on there last week. I went on and spoke with her and Malcolm, and it was a lot of fun, casual. It's a 30-minute, podcast. So really engaging, and probably not long enough for any one topic, but we tried to keep it super focused and laser sharp. So hopefully
that's a good way to say it. Yeah, I mean, not Rick, Malcolm and I talk over each other all the time, and we're always trying to ask questions at the same time. But I mean, that's how it is when you're having a conversation. You don't necessarily pass the talking feather around to everybody. It's just, it's meant to be just like we're meeting at a party or at an event, and what do you do? We ask questions, and pretty much I know. I mean, I'm the guest wrangler, and so I've met a lot of people over my years of working with We the World. So but I just like the idea of just getting people together to just talk about what inspires them and how they got involved, just like we're doing here. What all do you do? And there are just so many great organizations out there, and it's creates such a feeling of hope for me. There's so many things that people are doing that's good. It's positive. It's inspiring, and when the news is just so filled with, it's just nice to hear more about what good things are happening. So that's what we try to be.
absolutely. That's why I love this space too, because everybody's so involved with such beautiful, really game-changing work all over, and ideas to bring home to the work that you're doing and be inspired by.
Yeah, and that's what Jane Goodall says, and she says it even at 90 years old. Just do something, pick up some trash, take care of a puppy, feed a cat, give a child a hug, just anything that you can do that's positive and, shows that you care for others.
Absolutely. Was it her quote that said the first sign of civilization was when there was a mended broken bone, right?
I
That
don't
was Jane
remember.
Goodall.
I don't know.
And that caring for individuals and each other, and supporting each other in the work that you're doing. And I love looking at your cat there, Gail.
I was going to mention that.
As a retired nurse, I remembered that quote very well. First sign of civilization is a mended broken bone.
Well, she has a lot of good quotes, and she's still putting them out there from the interview Rick did the other day with her. She just looks so great at 90 years old. a good life of taking care of other people and caring about the environment and living creatures shows well on her.
Absolutely. I've been a long time fan of her work, and inspired, have been a long time inspired by her work as well. So a couple things we wanted to go on, a couple of like action items that are going on out there. Thought y'all be interested in us sharing to you is the lead up to COP 2029. There's going to be a lot of events, a lot in New York, of course, because that's a center, but all over the country, there's ways that we can raise up the work that's being done there, and what needs to be done there in our own local communities. I want to drop that link in the chat, and it shows a little bit of the things that are happening and things that we can plug into. Something else I wanted to bring to the table is this event that I participated in, that Move to Amend participated in with Alliance for Just Money. And it was in the build up to go to Chicago and the actions that we partnered with them in, and stood in allyship with the work that they were doing and raising the Mayday alarm for just money and a just economic system. And it's called the Singing Tree. And I want to know if in this space, that is something that y'all want to do. If it's something that y'all want to do, maybe, like over November and December, we could come together, still share the work that we're doing, but maybe create this project together. Thank you, Fernanda. She put it in the thing, and hopefully she'll agree to help co-facilitate that, because she did such an amazing job with the one that we worked through with hers. And that was for the Alliance for Just Money. But this would be Ecology Network centered. So it would be bringing your work in a creative way and creating an art feature that we could take to other actions, and when we're marching or when we're rallying or when we're going to the state houses and going to the Capitol, that kind of thing. It's really creative. It's ideal to be in the same location with each other, but not necessary. And we proved that with the Alliance for Just Money. It was still a great way to come together. I think it'd be a fun thing that we did over the winter solstice season. And, of course, still doing all the other work that we're doing, but having this creative time together. It's really a beautiful project. And we created our own things in our own space. We brought our creativity to the meeting, and we brought our tools, our art supplies, our paper and our markers and our crayons, and whatever it was that everybody used different things. Some people use like natural pieces, that they hiked and found and foraged, that kind of thing. But let me go ahead and share a screen. And this is something I wanted, hopefully, if y'all are interested in doing this together, I would love for us to maybe start this in November, culminating in December. And then this would be something like when we go to DC or go to an event, we can bring the project together and use that as part of our visuals to talk about the work that we're doing and share the work that y'all are doing. So these are, it ends up being like art pieces. Let me show you. Are these showing up? So we would maybe make a background here and then add all of the different elements that we create together in this. But it's the conversations that are had and the community building that is done while you're creating and having this creative space. So again, it is a little challenging when we're not in the same space, but it was beautiful. I don't know if Fernanda, if you have a a copy of the singing tree banner that we made with Alliance for Just Money, but I just wanted to share that with y'all and maybe get a temperature gauge on if this is something y'all wanted to do. There it is. This is what we created together.
Katie's stack.
Go ahead, Katie.
It was really good for the soul. And when she unveiled it, when we went to the action in Chicago, it was so beautiful and eye-catching. And it, like I said, the whole process was just really enjoyable and good for the soul and opened up conversation that we normally wouldn't have. And I took that picture.
Yeah, what else can I say? Y'all have really sold it. I'd love to help facilitate that process again for us all with the new themes to discuss. There's always more heartbreak, and that is where this art prompt starts, is gathering our people and centering ourselves in a community with agreement and love, and then discussing our heartbreaks. So of course there was a lot of these watermelons. We symbolically like chopped the coin in half because like we need to get liberated from our coinage economic system and embrace the three sisters, corn and beans and squash. And we learned how other animals do exchange. There's a whole video you can watch at the link I shared about the process. And yeah, it's really collaborative because people can send in their own like symbolic add-ons that just get pasted on top of the main idea concept, and it becomes a collage of lots of concepts: queer liberation, healthcare, yeah, and just money. So.
And I feel like too, how I feel like it benefited me is understanding too, what and in the visioning and for what it looks like to have a just monetary system, and what it looks like. I feel that maybe we would be coming together on what it looks like for us, and what's important to us in our environment, and that kind of thing. So I saw your thumbs up, Barbara. Yay. It might be easier to say, does anybody not want to do this? But or yes, everybody wants to do this. Can we get a thumbs up or a thumbs down?
I'm so excited. And I'm also gonna be unveiling this again locally at our International Day of Peace. I didn't know there was like those 12 days with the We the World, but we're doing an International Day of Peace and having the topics are like peace within yourself, peace with each other, and peace with the earth. And I'm on a panel discussing peace with the earth, and then I'm introducing our plan to make a time bank and do all kinds of alternative economics locally to facilitate more restoration. And this imagery that some of y'all helped create, thank you, Jenny, Alfonso, Greg, we're still waiting on your bird or coin if you want to paste one on here. And yeah, it's a vision that will be shared much further. And that's how art works.
Is that also like chalking when you do an art event like that? Have you heard of that? Chalking?
Oh, we have like a chalk the block. I mean, is that what you're talking about?
I don't know. I just recently met somebody who has been doing chalking at events. And I mean, I, when you draw on the sidewalk with chalk, and that's called chalking. I mean, I did when I was a kid, and I didn't call it chalking.
Yeah. We did that at May Day, and then it got erased.
Yeah. Now it's
Bring
a
me the permanent markers next time. Chalk ain't good enough for our message.
We have Chalk It Up every year in Sacramento, and we go around the park. All the sidewalk has squares dedicated to different artists, and people can support them and in what they're chalking up.
Well, it seems to
Nice.
be a popular way to get people involved because it can be a family event and
And fun.
kinda,
And everything is temporary, right? So it's
yeah.
kind of like the Buddhist sand artist, the Buddhist monk sand artist that, you know, they do these elaborate things over weeks of time and then just blow it all away in the wind. This will be a little more permanent, and this will be something that we can bring to other events. Move to Amend is planning to go to DC in January for the anniversary of Citizens United versus FEC, and also the introduction of the We the People Amendment in the 119th Congress. So it'd be the end of January. And I would love to unveil this thing that we created together, that our network created together. And it's just so much fun. And, you know, something about creating art together that kind of bonds you and binds you in ways that I wasn't anticipating when I started the Singing Tree Project with y'all, with Alliance for Just Money, but that's where it ended up going. And I hope that that will bring us to that same space. And I know that we do a lot of things and we sit on a lot of Zoom calls, and a lot of the work that we do is technical or, you know, that kind of thing. But this is a way to open up the rest of our brain in our ideas and concepts, and to share those with each other, which is really powerful. So we'll let's plan to do that for November, if that sounds good. I also want to remind everybody that we have Karen Coulter coming next month. She is one of the founders of the Center for Biological Diversity, right, Greg? Did I have that right? Actually, why don't you do a quick intro of Karen's? We've done a lot of work with the remote brain. I've been working all day and it's a little bit mushy.
Yeah, she's been very active for many years in environmental stewardship and working remotely for many months, literally in the forest, trying to preserve clear cutting by the U.S. government as well as logging corporations. She was a principal of the program on corporations, law, and democracy, very active in Earth First, and is connected. What is the name of her organization? Let me get her book right here. It is. This is the book she's going to talk about that she just wrote: Equal Rights versus the Rights of Property, and she is connected to the. I can't believe I can't remember this group, but I'll let you know. And so she's going to talk about really the disconnection or relationship or inverse relationship between human rights and property rights.
Is this in a particular area? Because we have a couple of speakers this week for 11 days that are both speaking on land sovereignty, who has rights, and you know, who has the rights. Specifically, these two women. One's from Bolivia and one's from Colombia. Is that where she's from, or
she's from Oregon?
Oh, okay.
And so a lot of clear cutting is in Washington and Oregon.
Blue Mountains Biodiversity Project on the Sante River Wind. And she helped co-found that organization. But like Greg says, I mean, she's a tree sitter for months in the year. She physically puts her body in the way of, you know, this force against nature. And so she spends many months in a teepee, and she's going to be coming down from the tree or from the
well, I mean, she doesn't technically live in not exactly. She does. I think she does have a roof over her head during the months that she is in doing forest work, but she basically spends half of her time deep diving, literally morning to night, in the forest, and then half the year when the weather turns, she goes back to Bend, or so she lives half the year in sort of eastern part of Oregon, the other half of the year in sort of central. And so she, that's when she does her thinking and writing and the like. And so it's the rare breed who is both kind of the theorist as well as the activist, and she does connect those two.
When you mentioned Earth First, is that the group formed way back in the 70s? I used to be in that group, and
well, they still function, and she, in part, will probably talk about the concerted strategic effort by the government in consort with the corporate community to infiltrate, to target, to demean, to create, to have agent provocateurs, and there's a long sordid history of the effort to take down the environmental community for the threat that it posed to unending economic growth and to live more simply and to live without having endless more. And that represents on so many fronts incredible threat to the system that exists. And I'm sure it won't take much for her to share some of her direct experiences with that.
Yeah, that was in Boulder in the 70s, and I recall one meeting was all Earth First people, but there was a representative there from the Sierra Club who, back then said they loved Earth First because it helped them. If there was another group being more provocative, then it helped them in Washington with their suits to be able to propose a way that they could make progress, because people would rather work with the people in suits than the people who were out being provocative and monkey wrench gang kind of people. And I did live in a teepee too in the mountains.
Cool.
Yeah, she was in a teepee until her house burnt down, until her teepee burnt down.
Oh,
wildfires wiped out all of her belongings. Yeah. So now she's in a straw bale cabin. Just amazing, living off the grid for almost a decade and a half. So
yeah, amazing person who does not fly. I mean, for the longest time, because of the environmental impact. So we'd have these conferences with the POCLAD, and she would come from the West Coast to the East Coast and take the train. And so she'd have to leave multiple days ahead of time to get there. Really lived her principles. Still does.
How old is she?
Probably around 60.
Who knows?
Yeah,
maybe
and
she's like in Boulder.
She's like Dr. Goodell. You can't
make
tell
sure
by looking at her either. She's and that's that Oregon air, I think, when it's not on fire.
Yeah. Well,
but
it's so different than it was. Right.
And then also some future ideas, maybe some working and doing some trainings of power analysis. I know, Gail, that you've been doing some recent trainings too. So if anybody wants to participate in like some skill sharing, because I'm always amazed at y'all's knowledge and your abilities to get things done. And I one of the reasons we put this space together is because we wanted to learn from y'all. So these are some of the things we're looking for in 2025, and hopefully y'all will all want to come and share, maybe create we have this space. Let's create some trainings and skill sharing opportunities for all of us to learn from. So if y'all have any ideas about that, we would love to get your feedback on it. And I will be coming to the rest of the summit, Jana. I don't know why I had in my mind that it didn't start until tomorrow. So I'm kicking myself. I guess when I looked at the schedule, I was like, oh, one day before. No, it was, I was thinking one day after, not one day before the meeting. So
yeah, when I read your note, I was like, but that's right. Okay. It's been, I have no idea what day it is really myself.
Thursday. That's when we always meet here in this case. We do have some other things in the news that we wanted to share. And it's in the agenda. We don't necessarily need to go through all that, but there's a lot going on. The Mountain Valley pipeline rupture. We finally got the report, was delivered. Ecosystem of tactics and bridging the radical and moderate flanks in the pipeline resistance movement. So there's some great stuff here. Really good article about the Appalachia's MVP crime scene that slap happy. So just wanted to flag that. Also some quick action. Some quick move to amend updates. Cole, would you like to give us some quick move to amend updates and anything about Cop City that you wanted to share?
Just real quick, the move to amend stuff. We just got 2 new co-sponsors, Benny Thompson from Mississippi and Mike Levin from California. Both of them are folks we talked to at the DNC and hunted them down in their hotels where they thought they were safe. But we had a great time in Chicago for the DNC. I think we got a lot done. We participated in a lot of actions, made a lot of connections, did a lot of interviews. If I'm missing any move to amend updates, Jenny or anyone, please feel free to fill in. It's 9 p.m. here in Georgia, so I'm getting sleepy. But
so what does that make in total co-sponsors now?
It's 88 plus 88 including Jayapal, 87 co-sponsors.
Yay.
Yeah.
And Benny Thompson, I've been working on for a year and a half, and Greg ran into him at these at the hotels early in the morning when they were getting ready to get on the shuttle buses to go to their caucuses. We walked up and met with a lot of folks, and it was really powerful, and other state delegates, and it was a really engaging time. And I don't know if y'all seen any of the move to amend updates on that, but we dressed up as Supreme Court justices with corporate logos all over us. Katie donned a Handmaid's Tale costume with corporate, symbolic of Amy Coney Barrett's role in, turning over corporate constitutional rights to corporations and taking them from women. Thank you for that, Alfonso. He put a link to that in the chat, and we'll link it into the agenda as well. Does anybody else want to go ahead?
I highly recommend wearing that outfit wherever you go with the corporate logos. I felt like such a celebrity. They were taking our picture, interviewing us. I couldn't walk like 5 steps without someone taking our picture. It was a great idea. Jenny's idea. So.
Which outfit? Send me one so I can wear it for the International Day of Peace and get signatures.
It's a costume. I just ordered it online. It didn't come in time, so I called them crying, and they're like, "Okay, we'll overnight you one there in Chicago," and I got it the next night. So yeah.
Oh, that.
But now I have 2 because they've never sent me the return sticker for the other one, so they're like. They must have loved the idea. Oh, let me hook you up. So it was really powerful. We did the progressive conference. We had volunteers that came and showed up, and that's something else. In January, when we're in DC, we would love for any and all of y'all, if you would like to come, to be there. We'll have more details on that as they develop. Right now, it's a concept, and we're turning it into a plan. So. Just to flag you on that, I want to give you as much notice as possible so that hopefully we can all meet together. But the idea of the Singing Tree banner would come together in time for that. If everybody's participating, sending it to us, and then we can attach it at that action, that leadership action that we're planning. So also, I want to bring attention to the call for democratizing environmental organizing. This is a doc that we put together quite a bit ago. I know we've all been really busy, but oh, thanks for putting the images in the chat. I can share a screen if people don't have that chat ability. But there, in the linked in the agenda is the call for democratizing the environmental organizing. We'd like to get that finalized. If y'all could look at it, maybe by November, give us any suggestions that you have. And then once we've all signed on, maybe we could start reaching out to other organizations and get their sign on it as well. So just wanted to raise that up again. And let me see if it will screen share this picture so y'all can see what it is we're talking about. So here we go. Just really rudimentary, but it got great exposure. See Katie there with the Handmaid's Tale and Money is Speech. Is it showing up, the picture? One of the pictures we took. We were waiting for the bus here. We're waiting for the bus and ready to roll. As you can see, I'm wearing, Berks, and we get there and there's all these police officers in riot gear. And we're like, hey, we didn't come to riot. Don't y'all come to riot either. But here is some of the beautiful imagery that we were able to get out of this, which really just added some fun, festive elements to the overall actions while we were there. So, and Katie's right, every single news organization that was out there covering any of those events came up to talk to her to find out what this was all about. So it is a great way to start conversation about corporate control in our environment, in our democracy, in our healthcare, whatever the case may be. I want to share this one other thing before closing that out. But this person that worked for Pfizer came up to, it was you, Cole, right? What do you mean by wearing Pfizer on the back of your this robe thing, And he was trying to do a gotcha. And then out of nowhere, Patty, a supporter out of California, comes up. We hadn't seen her prior to that for any of the events. And she comes up and she starts reading him the riot act about Pfizer's duplicity in the pharmaceutical disgustingness, for a lack of a better word, and making that connection to corporate constitutional rights and money in politics. And then we're like, hey, how are you? And she goes, I love Move to Amend. I've been a longtime supporter and volunteer in California. And then she mentioned Kelsey, who was the affiliate leader in Humboldt County. And we're like, well, Kelsey's here. And she's like, you're kidding. So then she spent the rest of the day and some of the next day doing actions with us. It was really very organic and beautiful. So,
and she's a nurse, so she was giving firsthand examples about how bad Pfizer is.
Yeah, it was wonderful timing.
They picked
and
the
Lawrence
wrong
was
person.
there.
They picked the wrong
They did. It kind of set the tone for the rest of the day. It was beautiful. And then we walked away from the march area, and there's first responders were there protesting that they haven't had a contract in 2 years. So we got pictures with them, and just making that connection on all of these issues that are interconnected, like you said, Jana, in your presentation, that all of this is connected. And the more we can come together and the more that we unify, the power of the people, that can't stop. It's the only real hope that we have, right? To face the existential threats that we are facing is together. So I am honored and, to be on this journey with all of you. I can't say that enough, and I can't meet it any more fully. So thank you all for all that you do. Our next call is October 12th at 2020, October 12th, same time, same place, same Zoom line. Karen's going to be here to share some of the work that she's doing. Is there anything else before we leave? Does anybody want to get on stack? Have anything they want to share?
Greg?
Go ahead, Greg. And Cole.
Yeah, if I can be given permission, screen share. I just put something together real quick.
You got it.
since it is election season and since the money is flowing unbelievably from so many individuals, particularly extremely wealthy individuals, and so many companies, including the oil and gas industry that is causing so much of this environmental havoc that we are experiencing, and it ain't getting any better. I thought it would be a pretty decent time to just share some quick numbers. So if I have that, start share screen. Open system preferences. Did you give me screen share privileges?
Yes, you do.
Let's do, I've never seen this before. Let's try open. Zoom, okay, let's see if that works. All right, doesn't seem to work. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this document in chat and invite you to open it up, and we can just talk about it for 2 minutes.
You want to do the screen share then on that, Alfonso? Real quick.
Yeah, I don't know why this is not working, but here is the document.
Need access.
Oh, okay. Well, let me give this then.
Real quick, while we're doing that, can you just give a quick update about Cop City?
Yes, please do.
It is now been a year since so Cop City, the police training facility being built in Atlanta, that's had a myriad of problems, both in environmental but also democracy, police brutality, all kinds of issues that are involved in this police training facility that's going to cost the city of Atlanta hundreds of millions of dollars, taxpayers, hundreds, millions and millions and millions of dollars. Anyways, so it's been a year since myself and other people around the Atlanta area went and gathered signatures for the petition to put it on the ballot here in Atlanta. A while back, they codified the referendum process in Atlanta, which we didn't have previously, but they added all these, for lack of a better phrase, again, it's late here, some BS measures for verifying the signature process. Basically, nothing has come of us submitting those signatures in an entire year. They've had the opportunity, Atlanta City Council's had the opportunity to do something and they haven't. So there's a big event on Monday where there's a big turnout for democracy events at City Hall where people are going to give public comment. The Cop City campaign has shifted strategies a little bit. We're now trying to get people elected on the city council. There's a man by the name of Devin Barrington Ward is going to propose legislation. All this, tying it back into environmental stuff, comes just days after there's a huge 3-story mulch fire on the build site. And the build site itself has all sorts of problems. But this mulch fire contaminated the South River in Georgia, resulted in a huge fish kill. And so, you know, what I always say about Cop City is, you know, don't let this, you know, die in obscurity or in you know, in the dark. You know, these Cop City facilities are going to be, they're going to try and build these everywhere. So don't give up, don't give up the fight. Keep paying attention to Cop City here in Atlanta. Keep paying attention to, yeah, just democracy efforts around your local community. All stuff is local.
Is there any campaign for folks to support what's happening there on the ground in Atlanta?
Yeah, so I would follow the stuff better with what quick resources to give people, but The Stop Cop City Instagram is a good way to stay up to date. There's all kinds of stuff like there's the Atlanta Press Collective. I'm gonna link this chat. The Atlanta Press Collective. Yeah, I'm gonna post this in the chat real quick. Yeah, but there will be more updates after this big event, just in terms of what next steps look like. Again, we're trying a bunch of different strategies. We're trying media outreach. I liked what you said earlier, Jana, about, you know, it's easy to get caught up in all the negatives of something like Cop City, but it's just as easy to be inspired by the positives of, you know, the resistance against it, and like the Cop City movement. So the Stop Cop City movement. So anyway, that's my little elevator pitch. But yeah, that Instagram account, and just Googling Cop City, don't let it, I feel like it's been all kinds of like shadow banned and it's not easy to search for. So just put in the little extra bit of effort to keep updated about this stuff, and don't let it.
We'll drop some links in the agenda as well, so make it a little easier. I love the Fire the Cat Instagram thing. Alfonso, you want to share the that link for Greg to?
I think I got it.
Frame it for us. Okay, great.
Let's see. Hopefully you can see that. And let me try to minimize the screen if I can. There we go. All right, so this election cycle, which every election cycle is 2 years. This is just oil and gas industry. And what you see before you is a couple of charts. First describes political campaign contributions, and this is through July. So we're not even through, and we've recently seen and read about huge amounts of funds that have come in over the last couple of months to both political campaigns at the presidential level. But these numbers reflect not just presidential, but also congressional campaigns at the federal level, House and Senate. And so thus far, we're talking about oil and gas industry have made political campaign contributions so far to date from the beginning of 2023 through July of 2024 of more than $147 million. And here's where they have come from. Maybe you've recognized some of these names of companies that have doled out funds. A good deal of it have gone to what are called so-called independent organizations that have done dark money. I mean, a lot of it goes for advertising, whether it's television or internet across the board, but a lot of electronic. That's where the big hits are. They're expensive. Koch Industries, you've seen them, of Energy Transfer Partners, Chevron, Occidental Petroleum, American Petroleum Institute, Continental, Devon, Valero. They're big at Valero into fracking, as are some of these other, I think, energy transfers. So here are the top 11 donors or investors. All right, now we go to the recipients.
$45 million, one corporation. That's just one.
And you can see, just going as you cross over, who they give to by political party and how much of it goes to so-called outside spending groups. Because technically, companies cannot donate directly to candidates running for office. Companies can create conventional political action committees that are funds that come from employees of the company. But now we have these things called super PACs that are just souped up. They can receive unlimited amounts of money, whereas traditional old-style political action committees were limited to the amount of money that individuals within that company can give. Super PACs, companies directly out of their treasuries can give literally unlimited funds, and you can see basically You know, who are the recipients of oil and gas money? All right, so that's this. Contributions. Who are recipients? They certainly go across the board. You got Trump first, this representative from Texas. I don't know who that person is second. Harris third, Cruz fourth. A rep from Wyoming fifth. They do a lot of drilling there. North Dakota, huge fracking area. The person running against the incumbent senator is Shealy, running against what's the guy's name in Montana? Nikki Haley eighth, Mike Johnson, who's head of the House ninth, DeSantis 10th, Scalise, who's one of the heads of the Republican Party, and I don't know who Westerman is. So you can see recipients. And finally, so this is political campaign contributions. But the other way the oil and gas industry doles out funds is through lobbying, political lobbying. So that's separate, okay? Separate from the 147 million. In addition, you have about $72 million.
Trillion. Oh, okay.
Yeah, in 2024.
Zero there.
Yeah.
I mean, another comment.
So through again, you're talking about the halfway through 2024, about $72 million. These are the number of clients. The $71 million by these companies that you see here are the main lobbyists. Of course, American Fuel and Petroleum Manufacturers first, Koch Industries, Shell, Occidental, some of the same outfits have collectively hired 662 lobbyists. How many lobbyists, Alfonso, does Citizen Climate Change have on Capitol Hill full time? 2, 3, I don't know. And then the number of revolvers, this is interesting. So these are individuals who, among the 662, 422 of them, representing close to 64%, are individuals who at one time worked in Congress. So last year they worked in Congress, or 2 years ago, they worked in Congress, or they worked for the government in some way. Guess what? This year they're working for the industry. So they've just gone through that revolving door. They know who is the individuals to focus on because they're friends. They used to have, dinners with them. They used to play, go on golf tours and cruises and the like. So here's what we're dealing with. All right, all this adds up to the impact of all of this is they've been able to hijack various corporate constitutional rights to apply to them, particularly corporations, to get what they want when it comes to various environmental goodies, or to remove various environmental barriers, such regulations. So First Amendment right to speak, corporations have won through First National Bank of Boston versus Bellotti, which have allowed them to donate or invest huge amounts of money, various, basically unlimited amounts of money. First Amendment right not to speak, they have won. This particular case, I think this was in the 70s, a consumer advocacy group could not force the company to use extra space in their billing envelopes for information. What information did they want to put in? How to conserve energy, how not to waste electricity. But of course, wasting electricity is profitable. And the corporation said, wait a second, you are violating my right not to speak, negative free speech, which protects the corporations. I say this with a straight face because they said it with a straight face, their quote unquote freedom of mind. Fourth Amendment rights, corporations in Marshall versus Barlow in 1978, the Supreme Court ruled a prohibition against surprise inspections of business premises. This has made it more difficult. If a company knows that next Tuesday, a company is going to be inspected by OSHA or some other regulator, guess what? They're going to do their best to sort of clean up their act for that hour or two that the company is being inspected by the public inspector. So this has made it more difficult without surprise inspections to have effective public inspections of corporate workplaces that protect workers, facilities, and guess where? Also the natural world. And finally, Fifth Amendment's takings rights This goes back originally to 1922, a Supreme Court decision that declared it was illegal to take corporate property without just compensation, even if the taking protected public health, safety, and welfare, again, of people, of communities, and the natural world. Why is this particularly important for people concerned about the environment? Well, it's because many environmental scientists, as well as activists, including probably many of you, have claimed that ultimately the only fundamental way to provide further destruction of our climate is not to try to have clean fossil fuels, which is bogus, but to keep fossil fuels in the ground from not being burned to begin with. But to do so would result in fossil fuel corporations claiming, wait a second, takings rights, which results in lost future profits of tens of billions, if not tens of trillions of dollars in compensation. What public entity, local, state, or even federal government has those resources to do that? So I end it there.
Thank you so much for that, Greg. Yeah, you're putting together something to be shareable, right? And that'll be coming out soon. Excuse me.
There it is.
Okay, are we doing a blog post on this too, or a blast?
I could put it up. I could write something, introduce it, and then post this.
Okay, that'd be perfect. And we'll send that out for folks. All right. Sorry to bum you out right at the end about how bought, the best money, best democracy money can buy, right? And this is why our work is so important, because we have no choice. We have to do.
I just say something real quick. I'm originally from Akron, Ohio. Akron, Ohio was the birthplace of the 12-step program, right? People who were alcoholics going through this program. Now, there's some concerns about that, it being no Christian base, but part of the 12-step program, they said you had to name it before you can claim it, before you can tame it. And so you got to name the problem first, and that's what we're trying to do. Name the problem before you can say, this is a problem that in part we got to deal with collectively. And so what are we going to do about it? So with that.
And that's part of why we're here, is to come together.
Cool, Jana. I didn't know you were from Akron.
Jana.
Or Jana. Where do you live?
Well, right now I'm near Chapel Hill in Akron, but I'm moving over to the Montrose Gent Fairlawn side. And yeah. I raised my family in Hudson, but I still consider myself a Colorado mountain girl, even though I've lived in Ohio for a long time. Mm-hmm. Ohio's a nice state, especially Northeast Ohio. I like.
I grew up on the west side off Copley Road and then moved down near Summit Lake. And daughter lives on Greenwood Avenue near the Catholic Church, the big Catholic church there, near west side.
Cool. But where do you live now? Not in Ohio?
I'm in Cleveland Heights.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, I knew that Fifth Amendment takings clause case, but for some reason, resonating even more in Pennsylvania Coal Company. So anyway, all these connections, we are all connected, right? We're all breathing the same air, we're drinking the same water, and we're eating the same foods as a community. So,
and we're all making a difference.
Indeed. Thank you all. It's great seeing you and being in this space with you.
Thank you for inviting me. I would like to stay on the, like to come back.
Please do come meet Karen next month, and then please come do the stinging tree with us.
I would love to. And Jenny, I'll send you information about other things too that I mentioned and stuff that I forgot, so that other people can know about it. And I started to write that we also have a online magazine called Trends So that's another way to participate and get the word out about what's going on with what you're doing. So lots of ways. We have the calendar, our Global Unity calendar. I think I put you guys on a long time ago. Should make sure it's updated so that more people can know about what you're doing.
That sounds great. And whatever you send me, I'll link it into the post that we have online too with your stuff so that it can be
cool. You're obviously very techie.
accessing. I've learned though, I hadn't been in front of a computer in quite a few years. I'd been with my hands in the dirt for about 4 years. So it was a learning curve, and I'm still trying to get over it, but I feel like I'm getting closer to the top of that hill.
Yeah, I finally learned how to share my screen. That was quite a proud moment.
Right. It's these little things. But yeah, and that, as we learn, we grow, right? And are able to better share and get that message out, because this is a tool that we can use in our activism now. So
we can be good media.
Really important.
Good media.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all so much. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Great to see you, Barbara. Lawrence, glad you were here. Didn't get to see your face, but for a second. There you are. Yay, I love that face. Thank you again, Jana, for everything that you're doing and for coming and sharing that with us, and helping to raise up others' voices within the network. It's so important. Much love, and we'll see y'all hopefully before next month. Oh, we have a Constitution Day event on September 17th that will be coming together. There will be, obviously when we're talking about corporate rule, there's always an environmental slant on that, because you can't get away from it, unfortunately. But let me drop that in the chat. It is on our website at movetoamend.org events. But we will be, talking about, whose constitution is it anyway, and how do we get from there to where we want to be. So it's going to be a great event. Some amazing speakers will be a part of that. Beautiful ideas, concepts, and ways to take action. Let me drop that in the chat here. I hope to see y'all there. And if not, we will see each other in October 10th.
Yeah.
See you soon. Peace be with you.